the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live from deep within the borders of occupied liberal territory known as California, Luca Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You crossed the line.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna, and you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom, live on K-Talks 1340 AM and also on GMN Network. Today is a special Sunday, April the 27th, 2014. First of all, I would like to say it's beautiful to be back, to be healthy. I had a very interesting week, a week with some sort of a flu and fever that I never really had in my life, I guess. I had visions, I had experiences that I don't know how to explain, but they weren't exactly out of this planet. And, sometimes I really believe that to appreciate more what we have, to appreciate more peace, and to appreciate more also a regular day, just a simple, boring day on this planet, you must have had the opportunity, and I'll call it as an opportunity, to be sick. Sometimes we just don't understand how beautiful it is to be healthy. And this is just a fever. I feel sometimes, so sorry thinking about people with real diseases. Think people have to go to face doctors and surgeries. I mean, I would love just to be healthy. That's probably one of the most important gifts that we have. When we have it, we should appreciate it more. And also, I think it makes us a better person, because sometimes, we kind of little arrogance when we're always too healthy. We forget that we are not exactly what you call forever. We are humans, we have weaknesses, and our body is just a little shell. So I really say it's beautiful to be back, and more important, it's beautiful to be healthy. So anyway, guys, today it's an interesting show. A lot of things happen. A lot of things are happening. I have a guest. Her name is Jenniffer Jones from Quartzite. We will talk to her briefly. We will know more about her. Normally, I have a lot of information about my guest before they come on my show. Today is a kind of a blind date, but I met Jenniffer not that long ago, a few years ago in Quartzite, for a completely different situation. Today, she's running for office. She's running for Arizona State House, and that's the reason why I brought her here. I want to pretty much learn more about her and what she's going to bring to the table. At the same time, when I met her, it was a different type of situation. It was kind of interesting, and she will tell you more. It was the famous Quartzite scandal that I was proud to be there to expose, to support, first of all, for truth, support for the people that were standing against the corrupted police department, for starter, and the city council. Anyway, she will tell you more. Now, before we start, I need to also be thankful for the sponsors. We have Colorado River Vapor, my friend Tom. It's a great guy. This is not just about being sponsor. It's about sharing the same ideals, or at least, the same concept of freedom. That's why I appreciate their support. Their support in our mission, my mission here, to spread information that we can reach more people. We can educate each other. The final task, the final goal is to regain our lost rights and to take this republic back, starting from our own community. So today we have the Colorado River Vapor Lounge. They're located on 4400 South Highway 95, Suite C in Fort Mojave, Arizona, exactly in front of Maverick. they have an incredible selection of this e-cigarette vaping experience. I think it's kind of interesting business, and the people, they're very nice, by the way. They have also incredible area for music, live music, like almost stage that filled up with professional instruments. I mean, I was very excited to see it. I would love to go to play there pretty soon. Anyway, there is also his phone number. You can contact Tom or his lovely wife, 928-763-3538. Okay, so at this point, let's see first of all if Jenniffer is around, because I would like to start with her. All right. Hey, Jenniffer, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Good morning, Jenniffer. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. It's another beautiful day here in the Arizona desert.
Perfect. And, as I was saying, normally I have a lot of information about the people, especially running for campaign. This time is going to be kind of an interesting experience for myself, because it's like a blind date we have, me and you. I want to learn from you at the same time as my listeners. And first of all, what is your first... are you right now on the landline? Where are you right now exactly?
I'm on a cell phone.
Okay, very good.
There's very few landlines here in Quartzite anymore. It's an unconventional town.
Okay, perfect. So you're calling right now from Quartzite, Arizona, correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. Tell us a little bit, first of all, who is Jenniffer Jones? I mean, who are you?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I am the editor and publisher of a free newspaper that covers La Paz County, Blythe, California, and Lake Havasu, Arizona, called the Desert Freedom Press. I started the publication because I felt that there were stories that weren't being told, things that weren't being covered in the mainstream media, and, I just felt compelled to put the information in front of the people and give them the opportunity to improve their lives and improve their communities and make decisions on their own behalf. And I just felt it was important to do. So I've been a pet groomer for 30 years. I'm a dog show judge. I breed American Pit Bull Terriers. I was the executive director of legislative affairs for one of the registries for, about a decade. So I spent a lot of time as a volunteer, and I would read laws and codes and ordinances at different levels and help try and draft more reasonable liberty-based legislation, analyzing things. Is this a law we already have? Is this a law somebody needs, when they were trying to pass an ordinance here or there? I'm not an attorney, but I have a passion for the law, and I understand the job, and I really, truly believe one person can make a difference. Someone said when Quartzite hit the media a few years ago, oh, she's just one of those vendors we have or something. What can she do? And to be honest with you, Luca, that's my mission. I'm dedicating the rest of my life to finding out what one person can do, because I hear this excuse a lot from people. Well, I don't have money. I don't have education. I don't know. I've never done this before. It's too difficult. It's too confusing. I'm just one person. What can I do? Well, I want to spend the rest of my life answering that question. And then someday, no one else will have any excuses as to why they don't take responsibility for their actions and their future and their lives, and why they don't help participate in the process, because there's an old saying from ancient Greece somewhere, and it goes something like, if you don't get involved in politics sooner or later, politics will get involved in you. And, that's where I'm at, really. I have decided to retire from grooming because the labor aspect of it has really not done me any favors as I've gotten older, and 30 years is a long time to do any job. And so I'm looking to basically volunteer my services, enlist for a 2-year tour of duty at the Capitol, if you will, and serve my country like our founding fathers believed that everyone should. And if the voters of Mojave County and La Paz County decide to put me there, I intend to do my very, very best to try and secure their liberties and freedoms to live their lives in the best way possible and to make the best and highest use of their money, because at the end of the day, that's really what the job is, to write and fix and in some cases maybe repeal the laws and to control the budget to manage the spending responsibly. So, you know, I want to be an advocate for the people of the district, and I just decided, well, maybe this is the right time. So here I am.
Jenniffer, perfect. And before, let's remind to the listeners exactly, first of all, your party affiliation and what is exactly your district you're running for.
I'm running in the Republican primary for Arizona District 5, which is La Paz and Mojave County for the Arizona House of Representatives.
And
so there's a lot of people in that primary race, I realize. So, you know, I appreciate the opportunity for you to allow me to speak to your listeners, and, you know, maybe hopefully they'll go to my Facebook page. I don't have somebody who's managing my campaign for me, so if you email me or you contact me through Facebook, I'm going to answer your questions. Nobody else. You'll actually know where I stand on the issues, and I'm going to be setting up an actual website, and I'm also setting up, going to be announcing my fundraising account soon. But if people just want to go to my Facebook page, they can find out a lot more about me.
Perfect. And by the way, if people want to go to lovegunsfreedom.com, by tonight there will be a page exactly with today's show, and there is going to be your beautiful photo and the link to the Facebook account. And hopefully, as you have your website, I will also put the website link so people can have a chance directly to go and find more about you. Perfect. Question, Jenniffer, before even we go into the campaign issues, and I have some basic questions that normally I ask to every type of candidate running for office, and so at least the listeners have an opportunity to know more about you. Some questions may be basic questions about, you know, where you're coming from politically. Some other, they're a little more different, or at least something that I believe, my opinion, they're important, because if I believe in the concept of, first of all, individual responsibility and freedom, and also the United States Constitution, the way I interpret it, I believe that these questions are very important, and I will go through pretty soon. Meanwhile, we met not that long ago about a situation that I think it's important because it's also connected who you are today or who you want to be as a, you know, potential elected representative. I mean, you took a stand. You were a very important part during the Quartzite scandal, as I call it. Can you please remember to the our listeners, because many people maybe have no idea exactly what happened in Quartzite and when happened. Give us the short story, the very short story, what went through in Quartzite, the city council with the police, and also what things are right now.
Okay, here's the short version. There was several of us in the community who began to notice that we didn't think our local town council was acting in everyone's best interest. A lot of it had to do with questions we were asking about spending. Other things had to do with the arbitrary enforcement of town codes and ordinances. And we began to go to the council meetings and question these actions. Well, some of us also ran for office against these people. And the retribution for that was harassment, false arrest. You know, we found out later they had illegally run us through the NCIC Federal Background Check Database looking for, quote, dirt on us. And eventually the police officers, 80% of the Quartzite police force, said, we will not follow an unlawful order. We will not violate these people's civil rights. We will not, you know, enter their homes without a warrant, or we will not pull them over without probable cause just to try and search their cars, or things that they had alleged that they were being asked to do. And when 80% of the police force stood up and filed a vote of no confidence against the police chief for asking him to do these things to the benefit of the town council fired the police officers and kept the police chief, which ended up in a lot of litigation, which recently was settled out of court for $1.3 million in favor of the police officers. And a U.S. District Court judge said that they were exercising their First Amendment rights to make that complaint. It was a very important case. In the meantime of all this, about 2 weeks after they made their vote of no confidence in May of 2011, the reaction of the town government was to install video cameras in town hall, remove some of the chairs so they could control the public who were coming to the meetings, stationing the police that were left at four corners of the room, and I got up to speak at Call to the Public regarding a tax that they had voted on without public comment. They wanted to increase the scope of their transaction privilege tax.
Yes.
And I wanted to point out something about the tax, and I barely began to speak, and a councilman made a motion, which you cannot do at Call to the Public, but he said, I move we have her taken out of here. You know, all in favor say aye. Everyone starts yelling and screaming, and the mayor starts saying, she has the floor, let go of her. The police removed me from the meeting, injured my arm in the process, took me outside, and I thought they were just removing me from the meeting, but then they arrested me for disorderly conduct and released me to the ambulance in the emergency hospital. Well, the reaction to that video making the internet was that the town received so many phone calls from around the world about the way that they had treated me and the way that they had handled the situation that it overloaded the town servers, and they proceeded to have another open meetings law violation by holding a secret meeting on a Sunday morning, locking the mayor out and declaring a state of emergency.
Wow.
And then rumors started circulating, martial law, and
Yes.
police knew what was going on. And next thing you know, Quartzite was in the crosshairs of national media. I was doing 3 to 4 radio interviews a day. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And sadly, not much has changed. A few people on the council have changed, but the state, because of this, idea that towns should be so autonomous that they can do what they want, the state says it's not our problem. Go home and fix your own problem. And only by the grace of God did somebody not get shot or tasered or injured worse than I was. Because several of us, I've been assaulted 4 other times, by people who didn't agree with me and supported the former cabal. I mean, elbowed by little old ladies in public meetings in front of everyone, and shoulder checked by the police chief's wife, and crazy stuff. And they were only arresting the people who were criticizing them. They weren't keeping us safe from the people who were attacking us. It was literally complete and total anarchy.
Yes, and by the way, that's why I think it's very important. It's all connected. And as you said, you as an individual wants to make a difference. I really believe you already made a difference, at least in your community. Just with that situation, just with that video that I remember I watched myself, and it gave me the motivation, by the way, to come down to visit Quartzite, and I never really had a chance to visit the little town, and with the Oath Keepers, and also to support you guys. So it's all in front of us. Sometimes you never know, you wake up in the morning, you think it's just a regular day, and you will be given an opportunity to make the difference, just to stand up. When you stand up and you say no, and you're not going to disappear because of fear, but you want to stand by your principles, I think that was an incredible opportunity you had, and I'm so proud of you that you were, had the courage to fulfill what I think at the point was your mission, to continue exposing. But how, at this point, so the police chief of Quartzite, where is he? Is he in jail? Is on vacation? Where is he gone?
Well, they kept him as long as they could, and they finally paid off his contract. I believe it was this fall, maybe in October or November. When DPS investigated all of this, the state attorney general investigated it in various departments, open meetings law violations, open records law issues, all kinds of stuff. Tom Horn ruled that the town had illegally removed me from the meeting because it was a public meeting, but he said, I'm not going to prosecute him. The open meetings law enforcement team said, yeah, locking the mayor and the public out of the meeting, yeah, that was illegal. We're not going to prosecute it. The police chief stayed. DPS investigated the officer's allegations, and in a separate report, DPS investigated the disorderly conduct of the police and the council at the council meeting, and they referred it back to Tom Horn, and he said, okay, yeah, but I'm not going to prosecute it.
Why?
So
I have a question. Why, anybody ask him why? I mean, why he did not... I mean, this is our serious, very serious situation, accusations. I mean, if I was any regular person out there committing such a crime or alleged crimes, I'm sure they would have been investigated. Why Mr. Horn said, did this give any excuse why he thought there was not be enough to prosecute?
His official excuse was no likelihood of conviction, which we all thought was very bizarre because the DPS report, which they released to the town and the police chief, and DPS made a mistake, apparently. They released it completely unredacted, and it included an audit of the NCIC, Arizona CJIS Criminal Justice Information System, for how many times I had been run, how many times my husband had been run, how many times the mayor had been run, and other people who had been named by the police officers as targets of criminal persecution because of their political beliefs. And the audit revealed that, we had been run an inordinate amount of times, and even the most loyal officers to the police chief could not come up with an explanation for this. They could not come up with an active case, any probable cause, why I would have been run 161 times in about a year and a half.
Jesus.
I never had a parking ticket in Quartzite. I'd never even been pulled over in Quartzite. I thought I was a model citizen. I came there. I did like most people. I, started my little business. I worked hard. I earned an honest living. It wasn't much, but I had a good little business. I served the community. I participated in civic activities. I hosted the Boy Scouts. I wrote a column for the Senior Center newsletter, and I taught dog bite safety to the children's after-school program. I marched in the parade. I didn't think anybody wouldn't like me. And next thing I know, I've got a rap sheet, looks like some kind of horrible criminal, and they did everything they could to try and convince me to stop publishing my newspaper and leave town.
Wow.
And I mean, if you go from someone who's never even had a parking ticket in Quartzite to somebody who's had probably, I think it's somewhere around 800 individual counts levied against them in a 2.5-year period. A lot of them were zoning charges, everyday charges, a separate offense, 201 counts of this and 201 counts of that and 119 counts of this. Well, they let the days toll out so that I could potentially face a $1,000 fine for every day, and and yet no conviction.
Yeah.
Because I never broke those laws.
This is sound like a bad Corleone mafia movie. Seriously, if I didn't know better, I thought we were in Italy right now.
I know, and that's what's so horrible is that a town of 3,600 people could treat not just me, but a half a dozen or so citizens and the mayor himself in a way that reminds you more of the mafia or some terrible homeowners association gone bad.
Yes.
I mean, it's so un-American that every time they take it up a notch, I would take it up a notch and stand my ground. I would just double down and say, I will not be moved.
At least
you will not run me off, because if you can run me off, you can run the next guy off and the next guy off. And so because I had nothing to hide, because I didn't have a long criminal history or some kind of dirt they could find on me, I decided that I was the best candidate to stand my ground on behalf of the rest of the citizens. And, I just want to thank you and all the other people who came to Quartzite and in support of us at that time. We had Judy Burgess, who's a senator now. She was in the House of Representatives then. She came. Carl Steele came. Kelly Townsend came. People came from all over the country to stand with us in 2011. And I just want to say how much we appreciated it, and it did make a difference. And I want to thank you for your courage in coming to our aid at a time when we were living in complete chaos.
Listen, this is exactly what I believe, and it's not about the person, it's about the ideal. It's about the ideal to fight corruption, the ideal also to uphold the oath that we took, some of us. Me, myself, I didn't serve in the military, but when I became a citizen, it was a serious oath, not just to renounce my former Italian citizenship, but to become an American, to defend the Constitution against all enemies. And when I saw that was like, there was no other option. And the beautiful thing is, all we have to do is, as fellow Americans, we need to stand for each other. All we have to do is just to stand up, just not being afraid, just say, I'm here too. And our presence, our physical presence sometimes, just being there, it can make a big difference, because evil, all he wants, all he needs is to flourish in the darkness. Darkness, when there are not enough people also watching, it's like a pack of wolves. They like to operate in the night. When more people get involved and they expose them. We are not afraid to expose them together. That's where evil starts to lose. So I was very proud, first of all, of you to done what you done. And my part was that just being there, I was happy to have also this memory, because I think it's all connected. It's also, you see, today you are what you were. It means it's like a chemical. Nothing gets destroyed. It's a chemical law. All get recycled, all transforms. You were a person, what you were, standing by your principle, and you weren't afraid. Even it's normal to be afraid, but still, regardless, you stood for what you thought was the right thing to do. And today you're recycling your energy in probably something even more important cause for all of us as a state representative. So that's why I'm glad that even I don't know enough about what could be your position about some issues, but I know enough what were your moral strength in this situation. That's why I wanted to spend a few minutes with the listeners talking about more about Quartzite, because not every candidate has the opportunity to have such a background that is not just some hot talk or talking about it is about life. It's about who you really are, or at least what you've been, and hopefully what you will be, even in different situations, confirming your same type of ideals and moral strength. So listen, Jenniffer, now let's talk a little bit about more into the politics. First of all, you run for a Republican ticket. I have a question for you. I'm a Republican myself. I believe that at this point, parties, they're just some sort of a joke. It's like a distraction sometimes, but still at state level, I think there is still some hope into the Republican Party. At least in most of the people that we have in Phoenix, we can have at least a dialogue, and we can still stick to our basic principles. Sometimes we forget what are our principles, because, first of all, I would like to say, what is the function of government? I mean, what is exactly our state representative should do? I mean, what is, in your opinion, the function of government? What should be?
I believe that the function of government was outlined in the preamble to the Constitution. So for me, it's very, very clear. I mean, if it doesn't fall into those 5 things that were outlined for us by our founding fathers, then the government shouldn't be doing it, and it should be something that goes to the private sector. And, it's funny because once upon a time, there were only 3 federal crimes, and I think they were piracy, treason, and counterfeiting.
Yes.
Now we have a federal code, which is so immense that the people who keep track of the federal laws don't even know how many federal laws that we have. And so, things have changed. But for me, at the state level, I can't fix the federal government. I don't think anybody can at this point. I think it's important that we have good people in the state legislature who can protect the state of Arizona from an overreaching federal government. And we've seen a lot of those issues with overreaching federal government lately. And so, one of the big issues right now is that who should have public land.
Exactly.
So I'm absolutely in support of Arizona doing what they can to take back control of what amounts to most of our state.
Exactly, and that's exactly my point, because right now we are to a point that our state legislators, especially the 10th Amendment, is pretty much almost gone. Or at least it's just something that they don't even want to acknowledge. Most of the legislators, and of course, our governors, I believe that they at this point almost became some sort of a puppets, because there is not really any more convictions, there is no any more strength into enforce our 10th Amendment. How do you see, first of all, this 10th Amendment? I mean, is it something that is just there out there, or something we can really use?
I actually think it's something that we can really use. I mean, it's pretty clear. If the power is not explicitly granted to the federal government, then it belongs to the states. And more importantly, it belongs to the people. Not just to the states, but to the states and the people.
Exactly.
So if the federal government shouldn't be doing it, the states shouldn't allow them to come in and do it.
Now, specifically,
we need to protect the people.
Specifically with, for example, with the bandit situation, that for me, when I would like to talk in the second hour more about them, since I also was there the first couple days, especially the 12th was the day of the standoff. I also took the video, I was there, and I would like to share my opinion and my experience. Before we go there, I would like to ask you, at this point, there is a point that it is not just more about we have a law, we have a constitution, we have different state laws, we have all the laws in the constitution that you can write. There is a point that if the Americans don't say, I don't care anymore, because the laws that we have, the 10th Amendment is so specified, it's so black and white, okay? There is a point that the only reason why we cannot enforce it because people are afraid to draw a line. When there is a federal government that laughs at you and pretty much, make almost fun, I say, so what? I mean, there is a point that our state legislators, and more important also the governor herself or himself, they should start to mean it. Because at that point, there is no even more going to another lawsuit or another, judicial review. There is a 10th Amendment, and there is a point that the state should say, you know what, we are tired. This is no more a joke. This is no more a game. And the people, of course, should be behind. And only when you have that type of resolution, that at that point you look at them in the eyes and you don't care anymore. This is going to become, unfortunately, almost to a physical standoff, and I pray for peace, don't get me wrong. But the only thing that the federal government at this point, it will stop when they see the people. At that point, they draw the line in the sand. And among the people, of course, the politicians, our state representatives, our governor. Because we are at this point right now that we have a constitution that it's been pretty much just ignored, because this constitution cannot defend itself. You can write all the most beautiful things you want in the Bill of Rights and everything else. If somebody said that you have a Fourth Amendment, and this Fourth Amendment is enumerated, by the way, doesn't tell us that we have it because it's written. It's just enumerated. It's supposed to remind to the federal government, to any government, that we have a Fourth Amendment. But then, for example, like when they start to pull you over and you don't stand your ground, and other Americans don't stand their ground, doesn't mean anything. And same thing with the First Amendment. For example, did you see in, one of the reasons why I decided to go to Bunkersville to join the effort of other Americans, not to support the bandits themselves, because it's not about the bandits. This is about to supporting freedom. And before even we go into the grazing rights, state rights, land rights, my problem that I really have, and I had, and I still have, is when I see, first of all, a sort of a soft, not that soft martial law in the middle of the desert. You have the federal government creating an area, like a corral, with a little bit of orange tape, that in the middle of the desert say, now here, you are allowed to be exercising your First Amendment. I mean,
well, think about this for a second, Luca. Think about how much this issue with this Battle of Bunkerville, as some people are calling it, how much this really parallels what happened in Quartzite. We have Harry Reid saying that the people who stood, and exercised their First Amendment rights were terrorists. Well, in 2011, Police Chief Jeff Gilbert called the FBI and the Southern Poverty Law Center and said, the terrorists are coming. They're coming to march down Main Street and express their First Amendment rights.
I remember that.
Right? See, Quartzite is really the microcosm within the macrocosm, because we've been down this road. They said, they actually said, we will restrict the content of your speech at public meetings. Or we will deny you your right to speak at all and just take it off the agenda. We will relegate what we will allow you to do, what we will allow you to say, and we will do it at the force of law, at the barrel of a gun. Now, what people didn't realize when they were at the Liberty Fest that we had was that at the fire station, just up the road, an entire fleet of DPS was mobilized to swoop down on us.
Wow.
And thank goodness one of my pet grooming customers was nice enough to see it and walk up and take a picture with his cell phone, which I put in my newspaper. So even though we didn't have the face-to-face confrontation, the threat of it was hanging there all the way back to 2011. And this is exactly the kind of thing that the average guy on the street, he doesn't know what to do. He's either afraid or he's asleep. He's complacent. And he's not going to wake up until they come to his door. And at that point, it's too late.
Exactly.
So there are some of us, who understand that we need to safeguard those people who cannot do it for themselves. And
Exactly.
all of these things have, as you say, sort of brought me to the point at which I'm at. I have learned so much through this journey, not just through 10 years of reviewing legislation for the dog registry, which prepared me for what I encountered in Quartzite, which has prepared me for what I'm attempting to do now. It's been an incredible journey in it and a heck of a learning experience. But these things don't just happen in isolated incidences. They happen in different places to varying degrees. The people that I know in Mojave County that have remained my friends over the years, they say, well, we have similar problems. We don't like the fact that the Kingman police now have an MRAP artillery armored vehicle to play with. We find that oppressive. Or, the people in Bullhead say, wait a minute, our town council made it illegal for me to give away a pet in public, and it's now a Class 3 misdemeanor. I could go to jail for giving away my dog because I have to move out of town. I mean, these are issues that they're in Cave Creek. They're in Tempe. They're all over the state of Arizona. They're all over our nation. So I don't want anybody to think that just because I had an issue in Quartzite that I'm all about Quartzite. What I'm about, Luca, is I'm about making sure that Quartzite is not coming to a town near you.
Exactly.
It's sort of become a social experiment. What happens if? And I want everybody listening to know that Quartzite is basically financially insolvent because of these actions. And it's very likely that they just borrowed illegally and publicly stated at a meeting, at the council meeting, we know it's illegal to borrow the highway user revenue funds to pay our water expenses or repair our well or whatever we want to do, but we're gonna do it anyways. We are going to steal what amounts to almost $500,000 from this fund, and we know it's illegal, but we're going to do it, and then we're going to raise the water rates over the summer and try and pay it back before the state auditor general finds out. I mean, these kinds of things happen, and what happens, Luca, is when the state says, we're not going to do anything about it, go ahead and break the law. Municipal governments get away with things, and the reason they get away with things is because they're insured.
Exactly.
Most people don't understand this. The municipalities are insured through the state municipal risk retention pool, and the deductible is like in Quartzite, it's $2,500. So for $2,500, your public servant can violate your rights, treat you horribly, and they go, what difference does it make? It's only going to cost the general fund $2,500, but it costs the citizen thousands of dollars to hire an attorney to fight this sort of tyranny.
Exactly.
And so, having seen how things work, I would like to try and fix the laws so that they no longer favor the government, they favor the people of Arizona. So that these things that are happening, as Quartzite goes in the downward spiral, it needs to be a learning situation. It needs to be an education for other people in cities and towns not to do the things that Quartzite did, never to repeat those mistakes. But this whole thing with the Battle of Bunkersville and Mr. Bundy, it was like deja vu to what we were going through a couple of years ago, and a lot of people thought that Quartzite fixed its problems. It's not in the news anymore, but it's still having problems, and we really didn't get a lot of help and support from anybody in state offices or anybody that we thought would have the ability to act. We thought, oh, well, the FBI will come in. They broke the law. They did terrible things. Somebody will come. Let me tell you something. The cavalry is not coming to save you.
I agree. And that's
to save me. You are, Luca.
no, it's true. It's true. We are left with each other. I mean, sometimes, when I see people hoping for some sort of a big, there is the Department of Justice, or there is going to be Captain American coming down with from the sky. No, we are really right now in this country. This is my personal experience. That all we have left is each other. We need to look at each other because pretty much we are. That's why I say we need to be nicer. We need to somehow, sometimes, even if we have a little bit of differences of personalities, so we may agree with some issues and we may disagree with some other issue, but we need to stick with the basics. As Americans, we need to start to realize that what we have is each other. And of course, if you believe in God, I would suggest you. And at the end of the day, when you say, hey, who's going to make all this? Somebody do. No, look at yourself in the mirror tonight. Because if somebody, may be just you. And every one of us, of course, we cannot do everything, but every one of us can pick a little battle, and we can be at least a leader in the little type of battle could be our little situation with the dogs, could be something at the city council, could be something at even just in our neighbor. There is a point that there is no help, but like each other. That's why I say it's so important we stand together. When I decided to go all the way to Nevada, it wasn't about for Mr. Bundy. When I saw this completely violation of basic rights, like for example, this corralling, this First Amendment area like cattle, and when I saw a woman, 58 years old woman be thrown on the ground just because she was asking a question. She was unarmed. She was completely powerless. Used like potato bags, okay, boom, by a BLM officer just because she was asking a question, what is in that truck? And when I saw, for example, another guy is Ammon Bundy, one of the sons, being tased 4 times because he was taking a photo of snipers, whatever they are, military, paramilitary, it doesn't matter. These are still working for the federal government. Snipers training their guns, their rifles, from the top of the hill towards down the bunch of rangers. I mean, this is not even in Iraq. And the guy only was trying to take a photo and being tased 4 times and arrested and released the day after. This is like what I call martial law. At that point, I said everything else we can and we will discuss about it. And of course, there is a lot of things that they are very much black and white. And I will go through this the next hour. But the point is, if we don't stand for each other right now, we lost everything. And that's why we cannot let this go. Yesterday was Quartzite. Today is Bunkersville with the Bundys. I'm sure there is something else and the story is not over. But if we just turn our back, next time it's going to be your door. And trust me, there are going to be other excuses. It's talking about something that is not just about the Bundys, but is connected to the Bundys. Did you ever heard about Agenda 21?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if anybody that's listening hasn't heard about Agenda 21, I'm going to suggest that they read Behind the Green Mask by Rosa Corey. I had the good fortune to actually meet her. She's a very fascinating lady.
Wow.
And, you know, I didn't know about Agenda 21 years ago when I came to Quartzite. I was like most people. I was just living my life, working my job, you know, having a good time trying to live the American dream. But through the newspaper and through my desire to research things thoroughly and find out, I have an insatiable appetite for knowledge. So I found out that a lot of the problems and issues that we're facing at the federal level, the state level, and even at the local municipal level through our zoning codes and ordinances is tied to this United Nations Agenda 21. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the idea that it sounds great to say, we need green energy and we need sustainability and you know what basically that means is that you can't have it, you can't touch it, you can't use it, your needs aren't important because some guy, someday, some generations down the line may want to enjoy it, and so you need to deprive yourself now, and we need to regulate you. We need to regulate your resources, your land, your water use. We need to control population in areas. We need to, you know, collectively put you into groups where we can manage your needs and resources. That the consensus of the whole outweighs the needs and the rights of the individual, which is in stark contradiction to what a republic is supposed to be about. Remember, they said, what kind of government do we have? A republic if you can keep it?
Yes.
Well, we are on the verge of, we are losing our republic. Mm-hmm. Because in a republic, you protect the needs and the rights of the minority with equal fervor as the majority. A true democracy is mob rule. He who has the most, whatever, money, guns, whatever wins. Big guy. I'm the guy with all the power. I got it. You can't have it. I'm going to do what I want. Well, Agenda 21 would like to control the planet through these policies that were very well laid out. And it's really kind of disturbing, and the thing that kind of bothers me, Luca, is that a lot of people who wield power in government consider it's like the elephant in the room. They don't want to talk about it.
It's true.
Because they don't want to get called. They don't want the other side using a Lindsay's rules for radicals and calling them names. Oh, you're just one of those tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist people.
Yes.
But when the town of Quartzite changes its municipal zoning code to the international building code. Well, why would I in Quartzite, where everybody puts up pop-up tents and has quirky little houses, why would we need international codes? Why are we doing 10-year strategic growth plans in our state, in our counties? Why are we, and who are the people who want to guide us in these growth plans about how we will be able to use our land? Most people used to think, I want to be a homeowner so that I can live my own life and own my own property, and that some rights came with that, with being a property owner.
You know what is said, excuse me, you know what is said, Jenniffer, that this Agenda 21, as much as bad as it is, the problem is that it doesn't come on its own and say, okay, now I'm here. No, some bastards in the local government must, or because they're so stupid and naive that really they need to have their brain examined, okay? But most of the time I think there is something deeper. I don't know, maybe there is some sort of way to buy them out. I have no idea. But somebody in every city council must pretty much vote for these things. Do you agree? I mean, this is Agenda 21 is by compliance. You must accept it. It's an agreement. And what I'm really sad, it is not just these little leeches that they pretty much sell you out in the middle of the night. It's about the people that let this happen. Because after all, this is the closest form of government we are talking about. It's a city council, few members get elected, and all the people has to do is be informed and taking part of this, and this would disappear, So right now, just a curiosity, in Quartzite, are you right now part of the ICLEI, ICLEI, ICLEI? It is a sort of organization where all the different municipalities join Agenda 21. Is the Quartzite part of it, that you know?
Not that I can find. And when we did our strategic growth plan,
yes,
a group, I can't remember the name of it, but I looked it up. They came out to give us a seminar on our growth plan, and I was concerned about their ties to Agenda 21 and their motivations for coming out here and helping us. But when they looked at Quartzite and they looked at, the people, and they looked at the Planning and Zoning Board and the Town Council, they pretty much saw that there was nothing they really even wanted to bother with, and they basically said, well, public input, have a nice day, and they turned around and went back to Phoenix. But they'll come back.
Yes,
they'll come back.
Exactly.
Just because we're not sophisticated enough for them to be concerned about at this point doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. All of these things that are happening, closing the public lands to the public, controlling water rights. Do you have a right to have a well and a septic? Must you be on municipal water and sewer? There's so many issues that come to this, and the more you research, you understand that there are powerful forces at work. And you're absolutely right. If your town council or your city board signs up for this and goes along with this and is a willing participant in this process, my question is, where were you when it happened? Do you not read your public meeting notices? Do you not go to your websites and find out what's on the agenda? Should you be there? Even doing your strategic growth plan. By law of the state of Arizona, it requires a certain amount of public participation. Are they going to do a survey? How are you going to answer those questions? These are the things where the government has to be open and accessible to the people so that those who are awake enough to want to participate have access to it. It should not be done in the back room. It should not be done in the dark of night. It should not even be done by administration without really informing town councils or city boards.
Jenniffer, I have a question for you. I'm going through a little break for the first hour. I would like to give you the opportunity, if you want, to stay with me the second hour. We will talk a little bit also about other news. Are you up to that, or are you busy?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Perfect. So, at least at this point, stay tuned. We're going to talk the second hour. First of all, a little more specific about the campaign. Exactly what are your plans? And more important, a couple of specific questions also about what our listeners here. We talk about love, guns, and freedom. We talk about freedom so far. And I think the guns issue is very important. We will talk about guns with you a little bit. And
Sure.
And I have a couple of special questions for you. So don't go away. Stay there. And meanwhile, we're going through right now a little bit of news. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna and Jenniffer Jones from Quartzite. Stay there. Okay, we are back. This is Luca Zanna, Love, Guns, and Freedom. And I have with me, let me get her back, Jenniffer Jones. Jenniffer, are you there? Hello, Jenniffer? Maybe I lost the line. Anyway, I had Jenniffer Jones with me, running for state representative here in Arizona. Jenniffer, if you want, you can call back. Meanwhile, let me put it back on. Anyway, what we were talking about, first of all, her campaign, pretty much her platform. And I believe that there is so much this lady can offer, because it's not just about some false promises or some sort of, sometimes people, I like to do that, I like to do this. No, what I like about Mr. Jones, she's been doing, just in her life, living in Quartzite, facing tyranny, facing corruption. I'm proud to see that she did not just talk, but she has proven records when it comes down to facing this sort of commitment. Anyway, so let me just give her a little call here. 1 second only. Are you there? Are you there, Jenniffer? Call back, okay? If you're there, call back. So anyway, now let's talk a little bit about other things. First of all, I have an announcement here we go, 1 second. Hello, Jenniffer?
I'm here. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
yeah, here. I'm sorry that we miss each other, but I'm glad you're back, okay?
Yeah, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, so I just hung up and called you back.
Perfect. So, okay, so I was saying, I knew a little bit about you because, of course, Quartzite, we cross each other, our lives. And more important, I had a chance to learn about you. And today, just even having this little conversation about your ideas as a person that would like to represent us, at least share with us what you believe in, what government should be. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy to hear more about you and to learn about you more. And I hope our listeners can take the time at this point to do a more accurate research, because this is very important. I still believe that in the state of Arizona, we have hope. We can hold the line when it comes down to freedom and to our basic rights to try to fight this internationalism, this globalism, this sort of a 1984 pouring into us. Arizona, I believe, almost is like the last Alamo. At least we have enough good people still that we can make a difference. So I'm glad you're here. And let's talk a little bit about something now when it comes down to guns. First of all, what is this noise, by the way? I hear like screeching and scratching. What is that? It's kind
I
of
don't know.
strange,
I
eh?
don't know. It's, maybe we just have a bad connection now.
Okay, hopefully that's it. Anyway, what I was talking about, the Second Amendment, I never could believe it. Of course, I believe it, but I never could see it really so important until I saw it, for example, in a situation like even Quartzite, when we were walking together. There was a big march, I remember, with the Oath Keepers, and was a reminder for the people that, especially in Arizona, we don't have to ask permission to a government to carry a rifle, even in the middle of the street. And for me, the day when we had that beautiful, peaceful march, where many of us were carrying guns or handguns or rifles, it wasn't about to try to intimidate anybody. It was about to remind the government that we have the right to pretty much not only defend our lives, but also to defend freedom. And I think it was a kind of a powerful message to have, especially after all the attempted and not attempted, but also real violence that they use against you, when other people, other citizens join. And in front of the city council, I remember there was this beautiful big meeting, and there were also many law-abiding citizens carrying their weapons. So what is exactly for you the function of the Second Amendment, and what would you do as a state legislator to defend it, especially now where there are potentially new gun legislations coming from the federal government to try to recreate this sort of assault weapon ban?
Well, my belief is that the Second Amendment is pretty clear. Nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say you can only have a certain kind of gun with a certain kind of bullet and only under these conditions. My belief is that if my government can point it at me, then I should have the right to point back at them. I'm a member of the Arizona Citizens Defense League. I know Alan Corwin. He's the expert, as far as I'm concerned, on gun laws. But I believe that rights are no good if you don't exercise them from time to time. I don't open carry. Because of the situation in Quartzite, I didn't actually, even though I believe in the Second Amendment, I didn't even have a gun in Quartzite because I was afraid that I would get shot as an excuse. Oh, we pulled her over. We thought she was reaching for a gun. We shot her dead on the street. I told my husband, I said, the gun is not leaving the house. If they come in my house past my dogs, that's another story. But for me, I chose not to do that. But that was a right that everyone should have the choice to make. You know, things are different now. The police chief is gone. The mayor is looking at getting rid of the police department. But I don't think that the government should be allowed to point assault weapons at the citizens, and the citizens should have to defend themselves with a slingshot. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I would like to come, because that was my next topic of the show. The situation with in Bunkersville, and probably there have been many videos out there now, a lot of photos being released. I remember very well the day of the 12th of April, when around lunchtime, was high noon almost, I guess, there was, let me repeat exactly what happened. 9 o'clock in the morning, or that morning, there was some sort of a press conference. The local county sheriff, Gillespie, I guess his name, was invited in front of the Bundys, and he had this incredible news. The news was that the federal government, the BLM, they're going to pack their stuff and go home. Wow, everybody's so excited. I mean, of course, kind of naive, but at least was some sort of interesting news. The point is, Mr. Bundys, I think the man has been fighting this for more than 20 years. He thought that it was a scam, and he gave to the sheriff like some sort of a deadline. Say, I give you 1 hour, I want my cattle back, and I want also the BLM to pack their stuff and go away, and also another couple of requests that were there. I thought I was kind of pushy, but unfortunately he was right, because the bottom line, the sheriff left, and there was no any real intent to leave. So much that after the hour was pretty much gone, Mr. Bundy said at this point, I will go to get my cattle back. And he didn't ask to anybody else to say, you got to do it. Everybody followed their heart. And was a big, some sort of a caravan, a lot of cars on the Highway 15. The Bundy's family opened the gate. And at that point, there was some sort of a commotion on the 15, and there was this underpass that the people can see the photo. And if they want to see the video, you can go to lovegunsfreedom.com. I also took the video, at least a few minutes condensed video of all this standoff. And at that point, it was very interesting, because when you start to hear people screaming, why are you pointing your rifle at us? They were like the first, especially 10 minutes, just a handful of people before the cavalry came down, that they were facing just 50 yards from the barricade, from the BLM, And the BLM or whatever the people are, they were more than just BLM, by the way. It's been proven that there also have been some special forces sent directly from Washington. We had a situation that you do not believe that this is happening in America. Because when I saw all this manpower, all this gunpowder, all these rifles pointed at us, that these people, they don't even point rifles down south of the borders in front of the smuggling, drug smuggling, or criminals. They cannot do that, God forbid. But at us, mostly, by the way, in this situation, especially the line, that was made of young men or young women and just regular people, seriously. And normally I always carry my gun in that situation, first of all, because I was in Nevada. I don't want to mess around with their laws. And more important, because I was using myself as a media, and I didn't want to give an excuse to be seen as a threat. I left my gun away, and I was unarmed. So anyway, the point is, yes, the government started to point rifles at us. And then where I saw that the Second Amendment makes a difference, because behind us, probably about 200 years behind us, there were a lot of other people that they believe they have the right to defend our lives in case our life was in jeopardy. And I completely respect that, because at that point, the law should be for everybody. There is no way that you, government, can start to point loaded guns at an armed citizen. Meanwhile, us, we should be just being bending over and shutting up. That's why I think this is the difference between America and the rest of the world. That's why I think also violence was avoided. Don't you think that? Because that was the very important element.
Absolutely, I agree. And, there was two factors that made this different than perhaps situations in the past, or perhaps the way this situation could have turned out. And that was the fact that both sides were sort of equal in their ability to defend themselves. But the game changer was the ability to live stream these events to the internet, so that whoever shot first, and thank God no one did. But so had things gone differently and there had not been a peaceful outcome, it wouldn't have been, oh, it didn't happen like that, oh, don't believe this. It would have been roll tape, news at 11, here it is. And so the camera, in essence, has almost become like the new gun, in situations where the citizen doesn't have the ability to do something. He can grab his smartphone and start filming things. You can live stream these events to the internet. The exchange of information helps to also keep things at a more level playing field. If things don't happen in a vacuum, then the speculation goes away. When you can verify what happened, that's one of the things that I tried to get people in Quartzite to do and was very successful at, is to film their town council meetings, film their interactions with planning and zoning people, film their interactions when they go to dispute their water bill. And you don't have to tell them in the state of Arizona, unless it's a federal agent, you don't have to tell them you're filming them. So you can just go in with your camera at your smartphone and lay it on the counter and say, hey, I'm here to have a discussion with you, because then there's no deniability. And, it's not just for those situations, because not everybody wants to do that, and I understand that, and God bless those of you who did do what you did. But, there's other situations where if you're waiting, let's say you live in a remote area. This district has a lot of unincorporated areas, places where it might take a police officer 20 minutes to respond to your 911 call.
Yes.
You're in a world of hurt, perhaps, potentially. So whether you choose or not to actually own a gun or defend yourself, that should be your right. That should be your choice. I'm extremely disturbed that the federal government thinks it's okay to send weapons of war to our local police departments, but do nothing for our border ranchers.
Exactly. And that's another important thing, we need to start to look at reality, because the evidence, it's in front of us. All these parts of realities, it's there. We have, unfortunately, right now, almost a bad movie. And I would like to just sum it up, just some things that probably you already know. I mean, we have, first of all, a takeover of our basic rights being destroyed. I mean, you know, the National Defense Authorization Act, the Patriot Act. I mean, we can right now be thrown out in jail by using the military, and this is part of the National Defense Authorization Act, without any type of any more due process. There is no any more justification. All you have to do is being suspected to be a terrorist, and the executive can pretty much, some bureaucrat can pretty much put you on the list, and you can be picking up by some sort of military force right now, really, with the Posse Comitatus being completely repealed, and you go forever, and definitely you can be thrown out in jail. That would be enough to make us all freeze and understand that what's happening, it's already way too late in some areas. So, and when I see right now, like in Kingman, this $1 million armored vehicle, my first question is why? Why? I mean, what is exactly the point? I mean, why?
Why, Luca? Because some guy in Washington, D.C., I was reading the other day, this has to do with commercial interests. And so usually everything is about money or about power. But, the Army or whatever said, oh, we don't need these tanks. And they said, yes, but our friend over here, we want to give him the contract. So we build things we don't need, and then we have to have some place to put them. So let's send them to the local police department. But, people forget that it's actually the sheriff who has the constitutional mandate to enforce these things. And we need to make sure that all of our sheriffs understand their role and their responsibility. It's funny, our president said that weapons of war don't belong in the American street, and yet that's what we're putting here, armored vehicles and all kinds of stuff. And it's not just here in this district. I'll give you an example. Back in, I think it was early in 2011, there was a couple in Tucson, Patrick and his lady friend, Emily. And the Pima County Sheriff rolled a tank through their front yard, drug them out of bed, assault rifles pointed at their heads, and arrested them without any probable cause on an allegation that they were dog fighters. Now,
Wow.
they bred show dogs, and they weren't dog fighters. But all it took was an allegation, and that was enough for them to roll a tank through these people's yard, drag them off, confiscate their property,
Jesus.
take their dogs and convert them to state property, give them away so that all their dogs were killed, and when they went to court, they were acquitted. And they weren't just acquitted at trial. They were acquitted without even having to present a defense, because the state had no evidence to make a case against them. And when the state rested, the defense said, we move for a summary judgment, a judgment at this point. The judge said, you're right. Go home. But these people lost everything. And so as we start to see more of this military equipment show up on our streets, we have to ask ourselves, well, if the federal government says that it's their responsibility to enforce immigration laws, why are these things not on both borders? Why are they in the local police departments? It's a very valid question.
Yeah.
But I get concerned when we have a situation like we did in Quartzite, where our police chief was so out of control. He was an entrenched bureaucrat. He was doing the will of corrupt officials. If he would have had a tank and all kinds of new toys to play with, I shudder to think at how that could have gone wrong. And I have to wonder why, as taxpayers, our money is going to put weapons of war on the streets of America.
Well, let me tell you something. When I say why, I was trying almost to be sarcastic, but I have my own answer, and I tell you right now. I mean, we gotta look the whole picture here, and it's like a mix between a Red Dawn and the Manchurian Candidate put together. And this is not just a bunch of conspiracies. This is not just somebody that tried to, be sensationalist or try to give you a bad Sunday. I'm sorry, please, listeners. Some of you already know these facts. Maybe you're a new one. Please take 1 second, sit down, and start to put now all this in perspective, okay? First of all, regardless the political party affiliation, we have somebody right now, Mr. Obama, I call him, sitting at the White House, that we really have no clue exactly where it's from, but we know one thing. We know is facts. And so far, I don't need to address more that you already know. If you think the guy is doing a great job, you're probably listening to the wrong show. I'm sorry for that, okay? But my point is right now, we need to look at his action. First of all, there is a fact that should be disturbing to everybody. We have now, for Homeland Security, this new agency that was created during the Bush, of course, we're talking about billions, with a B, of contracts, of ammunitions, for Hollow Point. This is not just for military. Hollow Point as for the civilian, okay? This ammunition, they're being given now completely access to, through our tax dollars, to the federal government, through the executive. So first of all, the big question, why Homeland Security needs so many billions of ammunition? That's right now, that should be scary. Then we need to look about this now, this prepositioning of armored vehicle. It is not just Kingman. There are more than 4,000 armored vehicle prepositioning almost every county, little town, doesn't matter. This is like almost preparing for war. Then we need to start to look right now at some other very important thing. That you ever heard about the Council of Rural America under Obama was an executive order. It's called the Council of Rural America. To give you an idea now, a couple of years ago, Obama put under directly the control of different agencies, and among them, the Department of Defense, every part of rural America. Why rural America is supposed to be right now go under Homeland Security or under the Department of Defense? This is like almost a preparation for war. Now, I'll give you another little part of the puzzle. Are you aware of, first of all, was more than 6 months ago, FEMA signed an agreement with Russia. This is directly from the FEMA website. And on this agreement, in case there is any type of a national emergency on U.S. soil, FEMA, we will call Russian troops to patrol and keep the peace on American soil. Were you aware of that, Jenniffer?
I wasn't aware of that contract, but I was aware, for instance, that Governor Brewer was one of the governors on the council for the 9 FEMA regions.
Yes.
And so that was of concern to me in not having much faith for her being a line of defense for the state of Arizona against the federal government. Oh,
she's completely compromised. At least she's been the biggest disappointment, in my opinion, and she's a funny actress with all the fingers sticking up at the airport. I mean, the idea that she is another just water boy for Obama. That's what she is. But like many other governors, it's not just her, you know. That's why I really believe right now that, of course, our state legislators that going down to Phoenix, they must have the knowledge and the will to enforce our state rights. At the same time, that's all we can do there. At the same time, hopefully the new governor is going to be a person of integrity that will not just sell out or maybe compromise like she did all these years. But anyway, so my point is we are really preparing for something that it is not just the typical political battle. I am really concerned that all this could become really out of the blue, something that we never seen in this generation. I mean, are you aware, by the way, that we have Chinese troops right now in Hawaii?
That I actually was aware.
Yes. So there is so much that we should really start to think and put all these elements together. Now, if you think that Obama going around with this Ukraine situation and trying to look like, there is this big Cold War with Russia, I'll give you another beautiful information that I think should really make you freak out a little bit. About 2 weeks ago, Judicial Watch, this very famous organization that pretty much tried to expose government corruption. You can find the document, by the way. Judicial Watch proof that Obama's administration is being given the last 2 months weapons to Russia free, completely free, special weapon system to Russia given for free on our tax dollar. I mean, this is not something that will make you feel like we've been probably sold out, while at the same time, our armed force, they are the lowest minimum since before 1940. So we are completely now at the lowest level of defense, not just nuclear defense, that of course unilaterally it pretty much is disarming us to the bone. And now also our military forces, they are the lowest. We are pretty much economically being destroyed with all these phony wars. And right now we have, of course, and spending and out of control, $17 trillion and more counting, just part of it. And now we have China and Russia, and we have pretty much a government that is putting us in a potential new immoral war, because I really don't believe that Ukraine is anything that should be our business. Okay, we are here in America. But the point is, I smell something that it is more than just a regular corruption. This is like almost going to a new type of invasion. We've been invaded. I believe that we already have our gates being opened, and we are at this point right now, Jenniffer, that I'm really concerned. Are you there? Okay, probably was some problem with the line. There we go, 1 second only, Jenniffer. Anyway, guys, just to let you know, meanwhile, I would like to dedicate a song to Jenniffer, because I had this song for her before. It's called Revolution. And I hope Jenniffer can call back. 1 second. Hello, Jenniffer?
I'm sorry I lost you. I'm on my way to Havasu. I'm in the car.
No problem.
The back area.
Let me dedicate this song for you, Jenniffer, meanwhile, okay? I have a song that I wanted to dedicate for you. I really appreciate, first of all, your input. I think you had a lot of great information, and I really like your stand on many issues here. And I have this song. It's called Revolution, out of my new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. And let me just put it for you, and hopefully you enjoy it. And stay there, and I'll talk to you after this song, okay?
La 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 It's always the same, a little every day. They're sucking our blood, they're stealing our lives away. If we are too busy, or we're too afraid, we're already lost our soul, we're already their slaves. Now is the time to stand for our rights. Now is the time to pray and fight. Fight! Revolution, rebirth of a nation. Now it's our time to show who we really are. Revolution, a peaceful solution. But we're not afraid to stand for what is right. The day will come when we'll all be gone. What are we waiting for? Let's live with honor. Let's go, they've pushed our limits. Where's our pride? Are we already dead? Or are we still alive? Look at the mirror, go find your soul. You are the answer now. You go! Revolution, rebirth of a nation. Now it's our time to show who we really are. Revolution, a peaceful solution. But we're not afraid to stand for what is right. Revolution, rebirth of a nation. Now it's our time.
And that was Revolution, music and lyrics by myself, Luca Zanna. I hope you enjoy it. Dedicated to Jenniffer Jones and all to other men and women that they really want to make the difference and in their communities, in their state, in their counties, wherever they are. So I really appreciate it. And let me get her back on. Let's see if she's still on, first of all, because she's driving and I understand line problems, communication. Jenniffer, are you still there? Hello, Jenniffer? I think she's gone. Okay, Jenniffer, in case you want to go back, you're more than welcome to do it. Meanwhile, I would like to read a little bit of an announcement here. I've been given today, May the 10th, 2014, at 8 a.m., the Mojave Mesa Kiwanis Fun Shoot, sounds like fun, will be held the wind, rain, or shine. Open sights only. That's great. 2 classes, open pistol and open rifle. This will be a timed event. Pistol best score and time, 6 shots. Rifles best score and time, 10 shots. Winner gets a cash prize, depends on number of entries. $25 to enter. Additional rounds, $20. For rules, go to Mojave mesakiwanis.org. Otherwise, just it will be held at the Tri-State Shooting Range. You can also find it on Facebook. So the Tri-State Shooting Range, and the day is May the 10th, 2014. I'd like to go there to see what's going on. Sounds like a fun thing, maybe for also a good cause. Why not? So interesting. There is so much, I really realize that we are right now, every day, in every community, there is something going on. It is not just the federal government. It all starts probably in our backyard. Look at this. I was, yesterday, I've been sick for a week, as I said, and I got the copy of the Standard, and comes down with an article on the front page, Golden Valley property owners to see tax hike. And I see Hodonu, whatever his name, is the chief of the fire department in Golden Valley, recommending highest maximum tax rate. I have really sometimes hard time to keep my mouth shut, and more important, do not scream, because people don't understand how tyranny starts to creep in. It doesn't start from just Obama. Of course, Obama is what we think. It's at the federal level. The face, by the way, is just a puppet. Don't give him so much credit, please. There is a point that in our own communities, there is so much corruption, every level. And the only reason why this is happening is not happening because these people, they are smart or they have superpowers. No, it's just because it's our fault. It's our fault that we are completely, unfortunately, just parts of us clueless, but it's not even about being clueless, just being apathetic. Being apathetic and not being willing to at least to stand up. All you have to do is stand up, be informed. I mean, this is, for example, right now, I would like to read you the article, but all I can say that there is so much, this fire department situation is being touched by this station. I know that. There's a lot of controversy back and forth. This is now black and white for me. When we have a chief of this little district called Golden Valley, okay, said we have that he wants to pretty much completely increase taxes to the maximum. In the middle of Golden Valley, Chief Thomas Donu said an increase in the levy rate is undesired but necessary to maintain service within the GVFD. He said he pays taxes too and doesn't like a levy big increase any more than anybody else. Politically, I don't want to raise the rate. Politically, you don't want to increase the rate, but you increasing it, or at least you wish. O'Donoghue said. And nonetheless, he said he's recommending that the levy of $2.90 per $100 of assessed valuation be increased at least $3.10 at least, or up to as much as $3.25, the highest amount allowed by law. Now, let me speak something here. There is no reason we have to pay more, to be forced to pay more, because somebody does not know how to administer the resources that we already been paying. I would love to talk more about this probably the next show, because this is something, unfortunately, it is, maybe I know many people say, but I live in another part of the world, or another part of the state. What do I care about Golden Valley? It is all connected. Whatever it's happening in Golden Valley, whatever it's happening in Quartzite or in some little town of Nevada, it's happening also probably where you live. And the reason and the purpose of this show, for me, at least, is not just about talking about things that they're generic, they're practical, things that we can make a difference. Like, for example, the Bundys, okay? The Bundys, even was the day of the standoff, even for a moment. Of course, I'm not naive. The fight is far from over. But at least we shows as a law-abiding American, peaceful American, because we were peaceful. We are peaceful. The fact nobody got shot, that showed the proof that we are peaceful. But we were not afraid. We were not afraid to be shot for our convictions. And the conviction was, this is America. You cannot point guns and unarm Americans. You cannot just think and tell us where we can use our First Amendment and your little red square federal government. Not going to happen like that. You cannot start to beat up people, women, or just regular guys because we want to take photos in a public place. This is not possible. We will not allow this. And the only thing they understand, first of all, you must show up. That's very important. You cannot just always hide. There is a point that there is no more place to hide. So you must physically go and support your fellow American. I don't really care about Mr. Bundy. I don't even eat beef. I'm not of his own religion. I don't know even his political views. All I know that situation, I don't care if this guy, he could be anybody. But when I see a family surrounded with such an abusive force, I have a serious problem. And first think, no, this is not right. Then let's talk a little bit about something else here. Because I would like to remind everybody, first of all, that there is so much information that we do not see on mainstream media. For example, let's talk about that the evidence now come out that Mr. Senator Harry Reid is a former chief of staff. Just a few weeks before, he became, let me see who's calling. Hello?
At the Lake Havasu Resort, I believe, it's at 3 o'clock. And so I apologize for losing you, but there's a bad stretch through here, and I've got a couple more miles of it.
No problem. Listen to me. I would like to say this, Jenniffer. First of all, I would like to thank you again to be with us today. And I think we have a lot of information that we share so far. And as you have your website done, please email it to me, and I will post it out. Meanwhile, I would like to invite to all the listeners that they maybe miss part of the show to go to lovegunsfreedom.com. By tonight, they will find the audio version also on the website and also on GMN Network tonight by 7 o'clock. Any other thing you want to say before you leave, Jenniffer?
Yes, I just want to say that if you go to thesearchfreedompress.blogspot.com, you can read back issues of my newspaper. So if you have any questions about Quartzite or about where I stand on the issues, you can read my editorials, you can read my articles, you can go back to the Liberty Fest and follow up. Google did lock me out of the account, and I can't get back in, but it is current through December of 2013. And then I will be opening a new website for the newspaper very soon. But if anyone wants to go back and look through and see where I stand, they can do that. I'm probably one of the most public candidates as far as the issues and accessible. Go to my Facebook page. I appreciate you having me on, and if you're in the Lake Havasu area at 6 o'clock today, stop by and you get to see in person.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Be in touch, okay?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful day.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was Jenniffer Jones. She was with us almost for 2 hours, running for Arizona State House. Really like her very much. As I said, normally I don't talk too much about because I just get my impression and you pretty much decide. But I met a woman with a Quartzite situation and all her stand and not being afraid to fight corruption, government, local government corruption. I think it was very important because it shows the integrity that she has. And hopefully she can keep the same integrity if she will make it to Phoenix. So what I was saying, guys, we have coming back to the Bundys. We have this chief of staff from Senator Reid that now is in charge of the BLM. Then it being official documents, documentation that shows that part of the BLM, that 640 acres, the section, is being in these documents pretty much named and given as a special interest area for this private corporation from China that they want to build a big solar farm. And the beautiful part, I'm being sarcastic here, guess who is in charge of all this sort of a negotiation? The lobbyist firm led by the son of Senator Reid. If this is not enough to say, okay, wait a second. Now, let's not forget the magic word that we also will talk during this show, Agenda 21. Let's not forget also that this is not exactly how the media want to just give you the one-side version. I mean, I'm not even trying to take the side of Mr. Bundy's now when it comes down to these grazing rights and the taxes. You know what? There is so much before even we go to that. But let's talk about 5-generation grazing rights before even the state of Nevada existed. But after when we found out all this fraud, you tell me that you want to use a law to pretty much, after you've been caught, to steal, to have personal, corporate, greedy interest. Because this is called fascism, by the way. The union between corporation and the government. The corporations, they are using the government to benefit. And they use the law, supposed to be the rule of law, to enslave us. There is a point, and this is very important, that we must remind the government that we are the final authority. And I'm not making this up. This is a look at the Declaration of Independence. I think this is more relevant than ever. And we should really read it more than just once in a while when you were at school. I mean, we are occupied right now by international corporations and private bankers who use our government and our ignorance to control us and enslave us. This is really what I believe. We must remember our birthright has been gifted by our own Creator with unalienable rights. We must cast off our chains laid upon us by all usurpers of liberty and justice. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I mean, this is the most important thing. That's why I believe this country is different from any other country in the world. This is the only difference. Is the final authority is not Irie Reid. The final authority, it is not the Supreme Court. The final authority is not some judge, by the way, can be bought out like we know. What do you think? A federal judge, no jury, is not elected. It's not elected by the people. It is just appointed by another part of the federal government. If you tell me that what the federal judge says we must bow down, let's look at the past of history. Look when there were federal laws that said slavery was legal. Would you comply with that? I wouldn't. Even local laws. Rosa Parks, sitting in the back of the truck or the bus was the law. Hey, you must follow the law. What are you talking about? We are the law at the end of the day. The point is the system can be corrupted. We, the people, we are the final end, the authority. And that's why I'm not talking about just by, few of us getting crazy. I don't want to pay taxes. We are the law. No, I'm talking about there is a point that you see when evil is pretty much being marked. And there is enough critical mass of Americans standing together because they understand that at the end of the day, we cannot just submit to unjust laws. And I give you another example, for example. It's the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, 1946. That's probably something that they don't teach you at school. That's the last, one of the latest form of use of the Second Amendment against the corrupted government. Just to give you a short story, World War II, it's over. GIs come back home. Athens, Tennessee, it's a small little town. Honestly, it's a county. It's a part of a county. And very corrupted. The local sheriff is being stealing elections. I mean, it's terrible things. For these veterans coming back home after they've been fighting around the world, the Nazis, I think it was for them kind of a shock. I said, we're not going to put up with this. So it was election time, and the fraud was coming out. Pretty much the people that were not allowed to even witness when the votes were being counted. Guess what? No, the GIs, they did not put up with that. They went to the armory, National Guard armory. They got their rifles, and they surrounded the office of the sheriff, and they gave them a warning, said, we want to be there and watch while you counting the votes. Not going to happen. Guess what? It started like a battle. It was the Battle of Athens. It lasted a few days. I mean, seriously, there wasn't a joke. There were really shots being fired, and people, I think, got hurt. Guess what? The Americans were able to gain access to the ballots. The election was completed, and the new sheriff, by the way, won. Meanwhile, justice was pretty much achieved. That means justice, the people were able to control a clean process of election. And the feds, when they came there, was all pretty much everything done. Said, okay, great job. The time, at least the feds, they knew when to stay out. And so that's my point. This country is unique. Every one of us has pretty much the duty to defend this republic and defend the innocence and defend the basic rights against evil. So, what else? Important thing, next Saturday, talking about Saturday, May the 3rd, in Lake Havasu, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, under the London Bridge. I was given the honor, I would really appreciate it, to be a speaker at the Tea Party. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'll be there. It's for me an opportunity to meet you in person, to spend some time together. I will give you my ideas, I give you my opinions, my fears, my solutions, but more important, I would like to get questions from you, so we can meet each other, and we can also have a little fun together, because, hey, after all, the best revenge against our enemies is to live well. That's what my grandfather used to say, and I really believe that. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry today I was a little tired. It's my first day after 1 week straight in bed. Go to lovegunsfreedom.com and you will see more updates and more news. Don't forget, Saturday in Lake Havasu, 2 p.m., London Bridge. See you there or nowhere.